Yeah, Cheeto's here from the Fox probably.
Oh, you're joking.
Cheeto, yeah, Cheeto right there.
I don't think it's ready yet.
You just told me it is. Okay, here we go. Welcome to all of you. It's nice to see you.
Nice to be seen.
We're going to, who would like to do the pledge? Francis?
Francis.
Let's make that.
Okay.
You gotta do it. Pledge allegiance.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we'll have a moment of silence. Special thank you to our Yorktown veterans, our firemen, our ambulance corps, all of the volunteers. Thank you. Mr. Lachterman is not here, so we're going to have Peter Harcum. Senator, nice to see you again.
Good to see you.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Rosemary. Thank you all for the invitation. Always good to be here with all of you. Just want to give you a couple quick updates and then field some questions. One, Diana Quassa, clerk, was here. Ed, the supervisor, is normally here. We have a very close relationship working with the supervisor on two projects for the library. We're now working on a grant for the police department for $120,000 for 3 motorcycles. With Diana, we're working on a grant for the Grange for $100,000 to finally bury those lights. We worked with Diana on the Century Garden. So we have been very active on the grant front here in Yorktown. We have done now $2.3 million in capital grants in Yorktown, either to the town, the library, or various entities within the town. So, for instance, this year we're doing $600,000 to entities in the town. We're doing the town for $100,000. We're doing the police department for $120,000. We're doing the Grange for $100,000. We're doing the fire department for $100,000 and the ambulance corps for $100,000.
Very good.
So we're working very closely with our first responder partners and with the town officials to bring resources back to Yorktown. And you know why is that important? Is because New York is expensive. And so the more resources that we can bring from the state level, the less you have to pay in property taxes. So things like increasing education funding across the state. We brought back over $210 million in education funding to school districts in the 40th Senate District. So for the 2 districts in Yorktown, Lakeland and Yorktown, $23 million annually.
Wonderful.
And so, you know, you may say, well, I don't have kids in the school district, but that's $23 million in property taxes you're less on the hook for. Several years ago, we capped property taxes. As we know, property taxes is the biggest hit that many of us face, so we capped property taxes. We have cut middle-class income tax rates, so folks earning up to $165,000 a year, we have cut those rates 5 times in the last 6 years. Middle-class income tax rates in New York are the lowest they've been in 70 years. So we really work on that. We've cut small business taxes, and one thing that you may take advantage of is we have doubled the threshold from $25,000 in income to $55,000 in income for the senior property tax deduction.
Wonderful.
If any of you are in that program. So we made many, many more people eligible for that program. So
How does that work?
So each municipality and school district has to opt into the program. And so I'm not sure if Yorktown or any of the school districts here are, but they need to opt into the program, and then seniors who qualify get a discount on their property tax bill up to $50,000 in income.
And is that automatic, or do you have to apply?
Yeah, there's a
It's a protocol.
a protocol. of working with the local receiver.
Okay.
So again, I don't know, because some towns are enrolled, some towns are not. Some school districts are enrolled, some are not. But if you need more information on that, we can get that for you.
That would be wonderful.
Yeah,
Thank you.
we'll do that. Also should introduce, we have members of our team here, Tito Davila, James Person, Tom Stoutard. You know, a big part of what we do is constituent service. We want to know that these folks are here for you. We will leave some business cards. If you ever need anything from mortgage help, utility help, you know, there's a lot going on with utility bills, NYSEG, Con Ed, overcharging, messing up the bills. We work very closely with an organization called the Public Utility Law Project. So anytime that we get a utility case from hey, Ed, how are you? I was just singing your praises. I was thanking you for, many, for your help coordinating the police grant and the library grants and just the good communication interaction between the town and our office. So exactly. So well done, sir. What we were just talking about.
Utilities. Utilities.
Oh, in terms of a public utility law project, yeah. So they are the professionals in New York State. We fund them through the state, just like we fund legal services of the Hudson Valley. If anyone has issues with your mortgage for foreclosure, or if you're a renter and you get behind in your rent, don't wait until people start sending you legal notices. Let us know, because the sooner we can have folks intervene, the better chance you have to stay in your home. So Hudson Valley Legal Services, also Public Utility Law Project, but you can just call our office and we're happy to connect you. So we talked about a little bit about affordability. Let's talk about a couple other things. One of the major calls we get in our office, and you know this because you drive on the same roads I do, are the condition of New York State roads. We've actually increased funding for the local roads, and we fight with the governor about increasing funding for the state roads. And we don't get our fair share here in Region 8 compared to the vehicle miles. But we have brought back $280 million in road improvement projects in the Senate district in the last 6 years. So we take that very seriously. We continue to work with our municipalities to highlight their priority areas. We're doing a lot of work on Route 9A, working with Ossining and Briarcliff. We've actually secured $33 million for the reconfiguration of Route 9A. Sections of 202 here in Yorktown have been paved. Every year we send a letter and we meet with the Commissioner of DOT to go over our local priorities. So in the next couple weeks, we'll sit down with the supervisors of every community, find out what are the worst sections of state roads in their municipalities, and then we'll sit down with the commissioner and go over that list. So we've been very proactive on the road side. And then one thing I wanted to discuss, because it comes up a lot, and people are rightly concerned, and that's about the issue of safety, public safety, and crime. So number one, I support fully our local law enforcement partners. As I said, we're funding $120,000 working with the supervisor to the police department for 3 motorcycles. We just bought them a police vehicle, a hybrid cruiser, which, Ed, do you know when that's the chief said that's coming in any day now?
Yeah, we were just waiting. Last I heard, we were just waiting for delivery on it.
Okay, and then in 2019 we did warning signs that they could put near the schools, the speed radar signs. So I've done $8 million in local grants to our first responders. At the state level, we have increased funding to the state police. Every budget I've worked on $347 million in violence prevention programs, and it's finally paying off. So 2 days ago, Westchester County Executive George Latimer announced that crime in all categories was down in Westchester County. Yesterday, the governor announced that gun violence across the state was at the lowest level since 2006 when they first started keeping those stats. And about a month ago, U.S. News and World Report ranked the 3 counties that I represent, Westchester, Putnam, and Rockland, as 3 of the 10 safest in the entire country. Wow. And there are a couple reasons for that. One, we obviously have outstanding law enforcement partners, and they're a big part of that. But they're also the holistic conditions for safe communities. If you look at low-crime communities, what do we all have in common? We have great schools with robust after-school programs to engage our youth. We have housing. We have access to jobs. We have health care. And we have robust human services to wrap around folks, whether it's behavioral health services, substance use disorder services, as we just talked about, preventing homelessness, housing supports. And all of those help make us have safe communities, and that's why we're making those investments in other parts of the state to create those conditions for safe communities as well. So I know that's a concern. Crime went up after the pandemic, and the criminologists have a lot of theories as to why that was, but we're finally seeing crime coming down in meaningful ways to below pandemic levels. But we will still be vigilant. We'll still continue to make those investments in our first responders and our law enforcement community, and we'll also make those investments that keep us safe and will help make other communities safe. So with that, I don't want to take up all your time. I want to leave some time for questions. Those are a couple things that we're working on right now, and I'm happy to take any questions you may have.
When can we expect improvements on Route 6, which it's really bad?
Yeah. Which particular section?
Well, I guess from where you get off the Taconic, there's a traffic light right beyond Shrub Oak on past Jefferson Village.
All right, we will be sure to put that.
It's really, really in bad condition.
All right, we will put that as one of our priorities. Tito's going to write that down. In fact, Tito is our liaison to the DOT, and we'll work with Ed to find out other priorities.
I actually just left another meeting in Rockland with Congressman Lawler, and that's one of the things we discussed. So I'll bring it up when I'm up on deck. So
Good.
Yeah, unfortunately, I've got to run, but let's chat. So whatever your priorities are, we want to get those in there.
Could I just ask you one question?
Yeah.
I don't know. You had talked about the schools, and I love our schools. They're great. How is the drug situation in Yorktown? Are you involved with that at all? I mean, are we
Yeah, and in
getting
fact,
better? Or?
my first 4 years in the Senate, I chaired the Committee on Alcoholism and Substance Use Disorders. I'm in long-term recovery myself, so it's an issue that's close to my heart. The issue that is, yes, there is vaping, there is drug use among our young people, there's drinking, but the centerpiece of that is the mental health crisis among young people. Right. And then the substance use is treating, it's self-medicating the symptoms. So what we need to do is we need to get at the issue of the mental health crisis, and we've increased funding by over $1 billion for OMH, for our community-based partners. We now have school-based mental health programs starting all across the state.
Oh, okay.
So we are focused very closely on that. Here in Westchester, every police department now partners with a CERT team. That's a mental health, behavioral health team that goes out with the police. We were meeting with the Putnam sheriff the other day, and he said that fully 80% of the calls that they have now have some sort of a mental health component to them. Mm-hmm. And that's why these CERT teams are so valuable, because in a lot of cases, yes, it's a safety issue, but it's not a crime issue. It's how do we hook somebody up with the appropriate services and with the appropriate crisis counseling. The other thing is we just met with Northern Westchester Hospital. We're over there to announce a $500,000 grant that we got them to reconfigure their emergency room. I don't know if any of you have been over there lately, but I was there with a family member, and it's quite crowded, and there's a waiting room, and all across the state emergency rooms are like that. And some of them are not serious cases, so they're going to be building like a new new wing of suites for the non-critical care cases, so those folks can come in and out. That's what our grant was for. But what they told us was a big part of the backlog are the behavioral health cases that are coming in. So they are working to open a new crisis facility. It will be like an urgent care, only it will be for behavioral health, so that maybe some of those cases don't necessarily have to go to the emergency room. They can go to this urgent care facility, which will be in Mount Kisco, not far from the hospital, and then they will partner with inpatient and outpatient providers to immediately hook folks up with services.
Now, when you say mental health programs in the schools, is that a program that all the children are involved in, or do you kind of see and pick and choose, or how does that work?
Well, emotional wellness is part of all of the curriculums. That was a SED requirement from about 8 years ago. Emotional wellness was a big part of that. So all of the schools do some of that work, and all of the counselors and teachers are very closely involved with the students. But this is bringing in social workers, clinicians, psychotherapists, so that when kids have real issues, there's somebody there that they can be referred to, because it's incredibly hard to find a child psychologist or a child psychiatrist in New York State. It's incredibly hard.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds very good.
All right.
Anybody else have any questions?
Well, thank you.
All right. Well, thank you all. I'm going to leave a bunch of cards right here, and if we can be of any help, you always know where to reach us.
Right.
Thank you so much. Here, we'll put these right here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Good
you.
to see
Thank you.
again.
Good, thank
Good to see
you.
you again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Good to see you. Always good to see you. That's right. That's right. Good to see you. Good to see you. Thanks.
Okay, bye-bye. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to have Ed, you want to get up?
Okay.
Our supervisor, Yorktown supervisor, Ed Lachterman.
So I got nothing.
No.
You know what I'll talk is it sort of piggybacks on what Senator Harkin was talking about. I just met with Congressman Lawler, who's today his staff introduced a 209-page bill that has to do with the housing crisis. But one of the things, I was a part of his roundtable, and it's something, as Rosemary pointed out, you have Route 6, and I think the point she was trying to make is there's some developable areas over there that, could help go a long way in our housing crisis. It could help our town of Yorktown, which has no inventory. It's great when we think about the fact that, I bought my house, it's quadrupled in price since I bought it in '98. But it's moving at such a quick pace, and especially over the last couple of years, that our kids can't afford to move back. Our seniors have difficulties trying to downsize because there's not enough downsizing, and they need top dollar for their houses, and it's hard to get it. Interest rates are up, and it's an unsustainable issue. But the thing that when I had gone and I had spoken about a couple times, and there's actually I think 38 different things addressed in the bill. One of the big things was infrastructure. One of my peers from up in Hopewell was talking about the fact that it's sewer, it's water. Guess what I wanted to talk about in infrastructure? Roads. So it's in there. I just came back from a meeting, and then there was a press conference after where we spoke about it. It just hit the floor of the House today to get people to sign on to it. But a lot of the individual items addressed have been addressed in other standalone bills, so there's a great chance it's going. But we look at things, and if you watch the meetings or come to the meetings, we talk a lot about balance and trying to balance it out. We do need housing. senior housing in particular. I know I've heard that a lot. And I do want to clarify something, because some people think when I talk about senior housing, I know that all seniors do not want to move out of their houses. Those that know my mother-in-law, and I see Carol Roberts smiling, will tell you that, my mother-in-law, she said it repeatedly, I'm leaving this house feet first. Whether that happens or not, you don't know. You just don't know what's going to happen in your life. But she has no desire to move out. There are other people who are like, you know what? I'm done with cutting lawns. I'm done with raking leaves. I'm done with, right. Absolutely. So.
And me.
Right. So we know that that's an issue too. And the housing isn't there right now. The Village, those places sell like hotcakes. Our houses on the market, they go up. And basically, you know what? If you're thinking of the kids, you're thinking of the first responders, the teachers, the people that don't have like these Wall Street jobs and these huge bonuses, are union employees. It's really hard and difficult. So we're trying to find that balance. How do we get some workforce housing? How do we expand our market? But how do we handle it on the roads? How do we handle it with the sewers? How do we handle it with the water? So that's really, I've been talking about it when people come to the meetings. Some people think that it's all smoke and mirrors, because unfortunately municipal government and federal government and state government works so slow. And that's one of the things that Congressman Lawler was addressing, which is how do we speed up the process? How do we cut some of the regulations and some of the costs? And when he says regulations, it's like multiple inspections, multiple plans. He's not saying, hey, just let them build whatever they want. But it's a really important thing to do. I look at some of the requirements that people have to go through to build, and I scratch my head and say, wow, why would you even do it anymore?
It affects the cost as well.
Absolutely. It affects the cost. The materials are all up. You could look right across the board. The labor costs more. The materials cost more. The plans cost more. The regulations that are overwhelming at times cost more. You could see, if anyone's gone to planning board meetings, you see people back 6, 7 times with their professionals. If you're looking at multiple professionals, let's lowball it at $400 an hour.
Yeah.
And they're sitting here for 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 times, that's 30 hours. And it's not one professional. It's an attorney. It's a landscape designer. It's an architect. So 30 times, let's multiply it by 3, 90, round it to 100, $400 an hour just in the planning of being in the meetings. It's a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of money. And you're right, who pays for it? Because they don't say, oh, well, I'm not going to get that back. I'm just going to build a house and sell it at scratch.
No.
It has to go somewhere. So, and it's funny because I spoke about that with the housing is like it's a logjam. It's a linchpin. And all of this problem trickles down because we need the housing, but if we don't address the infrastructure, if we don't address the high costs, if we don't get to the bottom of it, we're just going to perpetuate the problem. So I was very happy to be a part of that round table, although not so much driving to Rockland all the time. But I'm thrilled that our government agencies are working together, or at least our levels of government. We need, as Pete said, the DOT. We need them to realize that Region 8, most amount of roads, most amount of taxes, least amount of services. There's a problem there. There's just an overwhelming problem there. And hopefully we get leadership that can push the agenda the right way. And I don't care what side of the aisle. It's just got to be people that believe in taking care of our communities that we represent. Because, as a board member, we sit here, and I hear a lot of people, I don't want all this housing next to me. And I hear people saying, but I need housing. And we need a place. And then the thing, though, that I always have to look at, can we handle it? And that's the thing. So when people come in, we talk as a board. Hey, you know what? For this to work, Route 6 needs to work, or the corner of 118 and Underhill needs to work. So we're able to say this can be part of the job. Of course, once again, it's sort of like doubling up because we pay the state money to take care of these roads. We have right here an F-rated intersection that they told us we have no plan on taking care of anything there. So we have to do it ourselves. We laid a bid on Unicorn, but then the board decided we need to move to a higher level. Not just what they say they need to mitigate, we need to move to a higher level. So now the town's double paying for part of it because we already paid DOT to take care of it, and they're not. So now we have to take care of some of the expansion of it. But is it worth it? Is your life worth it? That's how we look at this. So we need the housing, we need the road fixed, we can't rely on our tax dollars taking care of it that we've given to DOT. So we made a hard decision to spend some of our money on that road. It wasn't that hard, to be honest with you, because, like I said, I drive that road a lot. I see all the narrow misses because the traffic doesn't move through this intersection enough, as there's a truck blocking the intersection as we talk. Just the proof is in the pudding. So we do what we can, but it's really a balancing act. We really try to be reasonable with our people coming in, because bottom line is, if I make them do the world, who's going to pay for it?
We are.
Right. So then you have to consider density bonuses. You know what? We'll give you a little more to build, so you could recoup and spread out that cost more. So there's really a lot there, but I think that in the long run, Yorktown is extremely desirable to live in. Mm-hmm. People want to build here for that reason. There are going to be some projects coming to town that are not just apartments. We have some commercial stuff coming around. We have some. We're going to be doing some streetscaping projects. We have a lot of things that are going to move, and we're hoping also to move the needle on getting sewers in two really, really critical places. One is the Halleck's Mills Sewer District, which Congressman Lawler is trying to secure some more money. He did secure $1.25 million so far. We have a bill that's in appropriations, which would give us another $8.75 million, which would, with that, we would be able to start breaking ground on phase one. There's a construction project that part of their give back is they need to do sewers, and they would extend it and cover most of the Lake Osceola up to Hill Boulevard, which is something that we really need to weigh. But can we fix the road? Can we get the state on top of that? Or maybe some of the other projects, because 800 East Main Street is already looking at it to say, well, we need to, if we want to come in, we need to, and that's, by the way, senior 55 and over rentals. So you don't have to commit to the purchase, which would be nice. But they're looking at how can their traffic work, and it's really a big jigsaw puzzle. And we're trying to make the pieces bigger and easier to put together. And that's where we've been working as a
And
town board.
where is that, the senior rentals?
That is the old contractors registry, Kelly Blue Book up on 6N and 6.
Okay.
So, did anyone have any questions for me? Yes, Betty.
The townhouses right outside of town, I thought they were going to be built for our children to live in. Am I wrong? That's what I thought I heard.
So years ago there were two plans. One that I thought would give I knew would give us more and be more affordable, which was two really nice looking apartment buildings, similar to what's across the street here. There were actually myself, Alice, and Alon were all in favor of that. Vishnu, I don't know where he stood, to be honest with you, and I knew Tommy wanted the townhouse. When it came to the board for the final meeting, I ended up being the only one still in favor of the apartments. They gave them the blessing to move ahead with the townhouses, which lowered the amount of units a third, and that, of course, raises the price of each unit.
They're close to $1 million.
They are.
Our kids, my kids, can't afford that.
Right.
So, where is children to move into, even across the street now, because of higher materials and higher labor. I don't think there's going to be anything affordable over there.
And well, they are at least going to have the apartments there, which I think will be a little more affordable as a way to start. And but you just hit the nail on the head. The costs of doing business in New York have gone up. How many meetings were the Soundview people at to try to get there? And some of the meetings were I'll say anecdotal, because it's like people projecting that, oh, well, even though they say they're going to keep the house, they're not. Well, no, the house is the centerpiece of their logo. You don't make something part of your logo unless it's something important and it's going to stay. But they kept getting raked over. You talk about man hours of people being in here, and they're still not done. They're still coming back for more things. You could see just the water retention. That's those big what are they, orange tubes that are there? Those are actually half tubes that you see. They get put together. They have to be dug into the ground. No one who's owned a business, ever says, I'm going to go into business and sell my product at a loss. And that's really what's happening. And it's regulatory. It's the cost of doing business with your labor, with your supplies, with your insurance. Insurance in the town, our insurances have doubled. They've gone up 20% a year over the last 5 years. They've doubled. And we're hitting things that, we're in negotiations with our unions. And some of the asks are like, we have no idea what's going to happen in insurance in the next few years. How do you play with that? You can't, but it's going to become unsustainable as a whole until something happens. And, I'm going to have the talk with Senator Harkin and all of our representatives about the fact that, look, how can we sustain when medical insurance is not regulated, not controlled, it's waste, there's so much fraud, and for someone to get their own medical insurance, it's crazy money. And it's a shame, because these are basics of life that we need, and it's sort of like a trough for the pigs to eat out of, or the hogs. And the old saying, pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered. Eventually, this is going to come back, because the whole industry is going to collapse. My wife went to Optum today. They fired all of their people that do the blood work. So it's like, oh, well, your results won't be ready for your doctor's appointment because we send it out now. And she had no idea. And the guy was like, yeah, I'm not surprised they didn't tell you. But you look at that, and it's like you scratch your head, and you say, when are we going to stop getting kicked to the road all the time, just kicked aside? And something has to break. There was a big lawsuit that I remember where someone had gotten the bill that was for an insurance company for a procedure that they had. And then they were like, oh, no, that's not your bill because you self-pay. Here's your bill. And it was triple. And so there's a disconnect somewhere.
Yep.
And he actually sued on the fact that you can't really have floating scales and charge people, and won and didn't have to pay the higher bill. But, that it's a terrible situation, because we look at it on the town level. It costs us more for our police, our nutrition, our CSEA people, our parks and recreation people. It's a lot. Those costs have all gone up. We haven't raised our taxes in 5 years. Matter of fact, we cut them a couple times because we have been trying to say we're trying to figure out what's happening with income because of because of COVID. Where are we going to end up? I've said it before. As soon as I got up at that table, this year's going to be a hard year for us, because we have to stop kicking a can down the road. We have to stop saying we can't do anything, because every year you do that. Just our scheduled salary increases this year would break the tax cap. That's how bad the situation is. And that's not buying a single new thing, not doing anything for nutrition, not doing anything for parks, just the salaries across the board. Our salary and medical is almost 80% of our tax dollars.
Incredible.
There's a problem. Howard?
Yeah, hi. Has there been any talk, considering that there's going to be, say, more density of more people in town with the new developments? Any talk of how we're going to have more ambulance since they're going to be more spread out or more?
So one of the things we're doing this year is proposing in the budget to add a second fly car. Right now we have 2 paramedics and 1 fly car, which means the paramedics travel together, and then say someone's at a call at the mall, and we get a call down at IBM, they have to take that car and then go to IBM instead of having 2 areas centralized to the different quadrants and be able to
Makes sense.
rotate. So, but I think the initial, before we sat down with them and said, you know, because we have an RFP out on it right now, before we even got results back, I called in one of the companies that we use right now and said, look, your proposal of $400,000 doesn't make a lot of sense. But, you know, it's going to cost us more money, another tax. Although this one, even though it sounds like a lot, would be about the price of a pizza and a beer, a full pie and a beer, or a 2-liter gallon of soda, which with a 2-liter jug of soda, which at least, you know what, you could weigh that out pretty easily and say, I would much rather have the services, the first responder. But one of the things that I'm doing now is any of the people that are coming in with projects, they're meeting with, if they're in Mohegan. If they're on this side, they'll meet with Yorktown Volunteer Ambulance. They'll also meet with our fire. And I talk to the chief all the time about it, although the policing usually is not as big a hit on those, you know, with the new development. But definitely, you know, you have to worry about fire. Like, we have a building coming, a 3-story building with standpipes. That's all new equipment. And it's like, I want to make sure that our fire guys talk. We need a control room. And guess what? We're not buying the equipment for that. This has to be bought by the development. You guys have to make sure you provide the safe environment. So that's one of the big things, because a lot of these projects that are coming in are very different than what we've had in the past. And so we make sure that they take care of that. I have them meeting. Matter of fact, I was on a Zoom meeting with Toll Brothers and Mohegan Fire, an ambulance, going over just these issues.
Thank you.
Good,
problem.
thank you.
Hold on, Nancy.
Any progress on the senior housing where Blue Book was?
Yeah, they presented the other day. We, I believe, closed. I don't think we adjourned. And pretty soon they'll be coming in for a vote on a zoning change. They did have a great traffic presentation that they used.
Ed, could you repeat that question?
Sure.
Because I
The
don't-
question was if there was any progress on the senior housing, which is a rental project up on the old Blue Book Registry, 800 East Main Street. They did have a traffic presentation, which is using the same program that the DOT uses, and it was fantastic because you're able to add in, and it's all like all of these studies that are done, by the way. It's not like they pick the numbers that are used. They do traffic counts, and so if you ever drive down a road and you see like that rubber strip, that does traffic counts. They're able to tell how many cars, trucks, whatever, go over a certain area at different times of the day. And then the DOT has a program that they use where the numbers come. I forget the agency that does it, but there's also like Rutgers does one for school-age children based on amount of units and type of housing. But they have programs that say if you put in 150 senior housing, this is what you could expect in traffic. So they're able to add that to the program, and then the program actually shows you a strip of what cars are going, and it builds it in. So if there's a problem, as such as a light or lack of a light turning left onto 6N over by that entrance there, you're able to see that, hey, wait a minute, these cars are going to back up all the way across the next traffic light. So they know that they could signalize it. What would that do? They can extend the runway lane, as I call it, that side lane where you make the turn. So it was a great, great program. So what they showed, I think, really helps in the vision of it. And now we'll take a look and see if they get their approval to rezone. Because right now it's office space, which if we don't rezone it, and this is that other balance, if we don't rezone it, there's no offices going in. Matter of fact, it's, offices are becoming a thing of the past. Although Amazon today did tell them, hey, guys, guess what? We're open 5 days a week. You work 5 days a week. If not, go somewhere else.
Right.
But that's not going to be everywhere, and it's not going to be new construction or someone renovating for offices. So if we don't do anything about it, that tax dollar is lost on nothing, because it's not being used. Mm-hmm. So it's there's a lot of balls in the air juggling, and just don't give me the swords. Betty, you had one other question?
Well, I sold my house because I don't want to cut the grass anymore. I moved to Jefferson Village. 4 years now, Village Road North has a big gaping hole on one side, on the left side as you're going in, and the right side is starting to kind of crumble. Who's responsible for fixing that road? It's not a state road.
It's also not a town road; it's a private road. That's the issue. And I believe it was supposed to transfer to Jefferson Village, but it never did. So the people that built Jefferson Village are the ones that are supposed to fix it. But that was something that we are still, I know Sergio's been knocking on doors trying to get to the company, although they're sort of semi-defunct, they're still some of the original owners with another company. But I've been talking to some of our legislators to see if there's any type of grant that could help to impact that, but the grant process is slow. We're trying. We can't use the town funds to do it because that's a gift of public funds because it's a private road. So it's the same thing. I guess it was a problem with a water main break, and they patched it. They fill the hole, which is what we're supposed to do, and then no one patched it over. There was confusion in there. I know I've spoken to quite a few people at the village about it, including Charlie at JOC, so they're aware. And, whatever we could do to support, if we have to repack it, we could do that because we don't want any damage coming to that pipe. We just can't pave over it.
Is that the one is that the one they repaired a few days ago? No. Oh.
That's my own house. Completely different. This is when you exit on Village Road to get to...
Oh, no, she's talking about the water main break, or we were just talking about the water main break. That's different. That's the bridge. There's a problem with the culvert there. So that the culvert is different.
Where the flagpole is.
Yeah, I think where the flagpole is
Right.
on you.
They patched that up pretty well, I would say.
Okay, did it get paved yet, though?
I think so. Bob, did it get? You got paved the
good,
other day.
Good,
Yeah.
perfect. So
We were
that's
shocked.
well, we've been talking about it, trying to steer everyone in the right direction. I'm glad it got
Good.
done where it needed.
Can I ask a question?
No, Serafina.
Very last, very quick one. On one of the, on one of the planning boards meeting, there was this company that came for seniors. I called it a community for seniors. That's my own personal, naming it. Where is that?
I'm not sure. I actually purposely do not.
Because I was trying to find out,
too. I purposely do not watch or go to the planning board meetings.
Okay.
Because I don't want to, when I'm
Okay.
sitting on the town board, if something comes to me,
Yes.
I don't really want to be influenced other than the
Right.
letters that come in and all.
Okay.
So I know that there was a proposal for something over across from the winery. They actually came to see us, too.
Okay.
That's a project that's been kicking around 30
Okay.
years. And you know what? That's actually a very important point because people say, "Oh my God, all of this construction is coming all at once,"
Right.
but it really isn't. The thing is, some of these projects have been kicking around 2-3 decades. The one that's being finished up on 202 and 35, that project started when I think when Michael Grace was still in office. They got their approval when Alon Gilbert was still in office. So since then, we've had Matt for 3 years, Tommy for 1, myself. So the approval process, and I think it was the first year of Lonnie's term, 5 years before they get there. And that's after the approval process. But then again, that's what I'm talking about in why it's so expensive. If they were able to build it 5 years ago, if DOT didn't hold them up for 4 of those 5 years about widening a little bit, they'd be done at a much lower cost. Because what happened to construction supplies over the last 5 years? 40 to 60% increase, depending on what you're looking at. What happened to the energy to build everything? And just ask Dave Paganelli about the paving that they have to do and how much paving has gone up. I think over the last 3 years, 40%. Wow. So, sometimes we get in our own way.
Okay.
And we have to figure out the ways to either make it work, and if we can't, then we have to kill them, and then just keep trying to move forward for the betterment of the town. Because, and this is probably the last thing I'll leave you with the traffic. We worry about that corridor on Route 6, and I've said I want to do a traffic study from the Mayapack border, Somers Mayapack border, all the way to the Cortland border on Route 6. The reason being is that if we don't figure it out for ourselves and we don't make it work better, I guarantee you Cortland and Mayapack are not holding up projects. So we're actually going to get zero benefit of the tax dollars, but every inconvenience of the extended traffic and all of the people coming through to the Taconic, unless we figure out a way to do it. And that's a really, really important thing that I think a lot of people forget.
That's why.
And all you have to do is drive down the hill, make a left off of Lexington onto 6, and that whole complex on the back there. And then if you cross into Mayapack and look to the right, that whole complex over there. And now you have Blossom Knolls sold. We don't know what's going to happen there, and we have zero control over what's going to happen there. But I can guarantee you it's a nice area for housing.
Okay.
So,
Senior housing.
hey, I agree with the senior housing, and we have had people say that there's too much senior housing. I don't agree with that. We have 2 great projects coming in though for seniors right now.
Good.
So with Toll.
We'll pray a lot.
There you go. Thank you. Everyone have a
Thank
wonderful
you.
afternoon. Thank you all.
Thank you, Ed.
Thanks, Ed. You did a good job.
Tama? Ready to go?
No.
Thank you for your patience.
You always do.
in Yorktown, so it was all an interest to me also, which is kind of nice. Now, how much time do I have?
4 minutes. No.
All right, I'll talk fast.
The end of this.
So, let me put this down, I'm short. So my name's Tama Goodstein. I'm one of the physical therapists at Hudson Valley New York Presbyterian Outpatient Physical Therapy Clinic. I've been here before, so it's nice to be back. So today I'm going to discuss, and maybe quickly, the importance of maintaining balance, some fall prevention with some tips, the importance of strengthening exercises with maybe sample exercises, depending on how much time we have, and a few simple tests that we use quickly to assess balance. In the clinic we use more advanced ones, but there's some simple things you can do as long as you're safe with them. But some of the things I wanted to touch on first. I also want to say, if you didn't get a packet, there's some packets there, because I'll just kind of talk about the packets in a little bit. So weakness is directly related to function. So weakness affects your walking speed, your sit-to-stand ability, your bed mobility, your balance, everyday activities like dressing, bathing, shopping, household chores, cooking, hobbies like pickleball, and most of our daily activities, even getting out of bed in the morning. So they've done studies that the average community dwelling senior needs to walk 1,000 feet per errand, carry packages averaging 6 to 7 pounds, negotiate curbs, negotiate direction changes while walking, and negotiate busy stores with obstacles and people, like Uncle Giuseppe's and Trader Joe's. So there's a lot of obstacles. So getting stronger and working on balance is not just about playing pickleball or winning a race. It's about your everyday quality of life and safety. So how do we get there? Well, first of all, no falls. You want to really avoid falling, obviously. That's pretty self-explanatory. And there are 3 systems that are involved in balance in your body. So the first one is your eyes and your vision. You use the eyeball and the optic nerve to provide depth perception and spatial awareness. The second one is your vestibular system, which is your inner ear. And this system gives you information about your head position to help you maintain balance. The third is the feedback you get from your feet, from the ground, which is your proprioceptive system. And that uses input from your muscles and your joints and your skin to provide a sense of where the body is in space. So you can train these systems to improve, but you need to consider someone who has a deficit in any of these. If your vision is decreased, if you have a neuropathy, so you don't have the same feeling in your feet. So someone with those decrease in those systems are going to be more challenged. So if one's compromised, you have to rely on the other ones more. So we do train those different systems. So training strength, endurance, and flexibility can help, but you do need to practice safely, of course. So in the packet, I just wanted to mention, I think everybody got one of these, right? There is a home fall prevention checklist in here that's done by it's stopthefall.org. And so some of the things they mention is shoe wear with proper fit. I did like to see Senator Harkin with his sneakers on. Those are good. And also we're using non-skid soles or gripper socks, watching rugs and carpets, watching for tripping hazards, good lighting, using grab bars in showers and tub seats if you need it, night lights, just to name a few. Also in the packet, I put in some norms, which is the average that you should have for your age group. And we'll go over them depending on how much time we can take. One of them is your ability to go from sit to stand in 30 seconds. It's a time test that a lot of people can do, and I'll demonstrate if we have time. The single limb stance test. It's standing with your hands on your hips and lifting one leg off the ground and seeing how long you can do that, because walking is really balancing on one leg at a time. So that's why it's important. Also in the packet is a 5-time sit-to-stand test, which is assessing leg strength and endurance. It's sort of like a chair squat. So that's important. I also put one of the packets we give out at our office. It's a fall prevention and home safety information packet. So that's just more information about how to decrease falls in your home. So the next step is to start moving. As you can see from the cover sheet, everybody can lift weights, no matter what age. But you have to do it safely. So generally, exercises, if you're starting an exercise program, generally you do 8 to 12 repetitions of an exercise, 1 to 3 sets of each with a 1 to 2 minute rest between each set, and generally 3 to 4 times a week as a general guideline. But all these things depend on how conditioned or deconditioned you are. I mean, I have patients that come in, they could do three times of an exercise. I'm like, that's fine, because you really have to start where you are. So that will make a difference on how we, plan somebody's exercise program. But having guidance from a professional is always good. And exercise, I say, is like medicine. You have to dose it properly, because if you overdose, it's not good. So that's important. Also in the packet, there's some basic exercises where you use your body weight to give resistance, like sit to stand, wall push-ups up on your toes. Those are all things that can help. And the single leg standing, of course, is a balance test, which is in the handout. So there are things you can do to help make you stronger, improve your endurance, improve your flexibility, and help with balance. Like Tai Chi is one of them. And I happened to notice the little town senior thing. You have a fall prevention class. Did people go to that?
Yeah, they do.
That's great. So they probably do some more group exercises. And I did put a few copies of, there's a group exercise, just some things that they use in group exercise programs that you would use, not singly, but some of the things that they do in a group exercise and that we do is if we want to challenge the balance, what we'll do is we'll add some more difficult tasks. So there's motor tasks that you can do to further challenge yourself, and we do this a lot. You wouldn't want to do it alone because you want to be safe, but in a group class, maybe you could. So when you're walking, moving your arm or your leg, or trying to do walking while you're buttoning or unbuttoning, or standing while you're buttoning or unbuttoning something, juggling a balloon, throwing or catching a ball, carrying a glass of water, definitely closing your eyes because that's one of the 3 systems that come into balance. So if you take away the vision, that's a big difficulty for people to keep their balance. And then they also will do cognitive tasks, which are counting or subtracting by 3 or 7, or reciting names, or reciting flowers or animals, all done while you're balancing, because all these things challenge your balance. And actually, if people are walking and a bus goes by, that can be a challenge to the balance because there's a visual change. So there's all these different things. So that's why some of these exercise programs, and what we do is we try and challenge in a realistic way. So say you go to Uncle Giuseppe's and you're walking. It's not like you're just walking down a straight hall. You have people with their carts. You have people zipping by. So all these distractions, it's important to really challenge your balance in a realistic way. So what we'll do is, why don't we try to do, can I demonstrate a few different things that I have in the packet?
What about hydration? Is that important?
Oh, yeah. And it may list that in some of the balance in the fall prevention. Is not only hydration is important, of course, if you're dehydrated, that definitely can make a difference, but also the number of medications you take. Oh, yeah. There's a lot of risk factors for falls. Obviously, previous falls, your medication, if you're dehydrated. And then if you add any of deficits in any of these 3 systems with which the general population, as they age, all have deficits. People's vision, people's feedback in their feet, their inner ear may not be the same. So adding all these things increases your risk factor for falls. And some you can't change, you can't change the process of aging, but what can you do? You can practice some of these things to help, and also be aware, so if you're going into a difficult situation, being aware that, okay, I'm going to need to pay attention. I can't carry, like going up and down the stairs. Don't be carrying 5 things up and down the stairs. All these things, like these stairs. There's no rail. I noticed that before. Right. So I'm thinking, okay, there's a rail here, but to me, that's a risk factor, for people.
Is.
So did that answer your questions? I can take questions at the end, I guess,
Sure.
which might be important. So can I take one of these chairs up onto the stage?
Sure.
Okay, let's see, where can I put it so it won't block everybody? Let's go through, if you want to open the packet, let's see, I have it in here somewhere, before I go over the exercises. Okay, so the first is the 30-second stair chair test. So what we do is you could do this at home. Number 1, safety is important. Do you want me to turn on the side so you can
That's
fine. So the most important thing, like I said, is safety. You don't want any falls. So if you were going to do this at home and you had a clock, you could look for 30 seconds at the clock and say, how many times can I do this? So what we do is we use a chair that doesn't slide or tip, definitely no wheels, and we have people cross their arms so they're not using their hand, and you stand up and you sit down, and you do it for 30 seconds, and you count how many times you can do that. Now, I have people who are more deconditioned, they can't do it without their hands. So I time them, even if they're using their hands, it gives me a baseline. Let's see where you're starting, let's work on these So that's one of the things that we do just to test somebody's ability to move and their balance. And if you look in the packet, there's also some numbers that are, I call them norms. They're the average of what people would have for their age, plus or minus. So that one's pretty easy to do. The other thing is the single limb stand test. So you're going to be putting your arms on your hips, and you're going to lift up, and you're going to just hold, okay? So you're going to do a certain amount of seconds. How many times can you do it? And you do it on both legs because people are not symmetrical usually. But again, I was saying walking is like balancing on one leg. If I slow down walking, what am I doing? I'm balancing on one leg, putting the other one, balancing on one leg. So again, there's some norms in there. There's some times that you should do. Now, a lot of people, if I had everybody stand up, a lot of people, there's no way they can even do any time. So what I do is I have people hold on with one hand. If they need to, they can hold on with two hands. So I always want to adapt the testing to make it so people can do it. If you can't stand at all, 0 seconds or 1 second, there's no sense in practicing that way. So you want to practice doing something where you can actually be successful. So you might have to hold on. You can hold on with 2 fingertips. But it's good to practice in a safe way. Because remember, safety first. The other thing we do is 5 times sit to stand, which is very similar to the 30-second, except what we do is we just have somebody stand up and sit down, and on the 5th time standing, that's when you stop the clock. And again, there's times that people should do. And they found, all right, if you're more than 15 seconds, that increases your chance of falls. So, some basic things that we do. I'll do some demo exercises if we have time for that as well. But I'll just tell you in terms of the resources, I work for New York Presbyterian, so I have to say something about it. We have physical therapy, which can help with building strength, endurance, flexibility, and balance. If you have an injury or unstable walking or moving, we do work with a lot of people with balance issues. We also have specialists in vestibular therapy, lymphedema therapy, and pelvic floor therapy. So those are sort of some specialties that you need a prescription for, of course. Then we have occupational therapy, where the occupational therapists, they specialize in hand, wrist, arm injuries, and most of them are certified hand specialists. And also you need a doctor's prescription. And then we have cardiopulmonary rehab, which is also prescribed by a doctor. And usually you would go to that after maybe a heart attack or some type of heart issues or COPD or chronic bronchitis, different things. And the good thing about that is, especially after a heart attack, is that you are monitored. They monitor your vitals so you can make it a safe way to exercise. Plus, it takes the fear away a little bit. Mm-hmm. So, do you want to ask questions now before I... Oh, you have a question. Yes. All right.
Take a number.
Pelvic floor therapy.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of doctor do you go to get that?
Well, that's a good question because
and how does it prevent and help?
Okay, that's a good question because a lot of doctors don't know about it. Obviously OBGYN physicians would know, or urologists would know for men or women because they would be more focused on the urinary tract. And so basically, though, let me just say what pelvic floor can work on is they'll work on incontinence, so they work on strengthening the pelvic floor. If there's any surgeries or even after pregnancies, they'll work on the pelvic floor. So it's not just for women, it's for men as well. So really what it does is it works on your whole pelvic floor muscles, which are really important and help with core. And so there's a lot of I'm not a pelvic floor therapist, but we have really great ones there. So it's something to think of if you do have any issues or incontinence or any other situations like that.
I've heard of people's organs falling.
Right, a prolapse.
A prolapse would need a surgery.
Mm-hmm. Well, sometimes. It depends because your pelvic floor is like a sling. So that sort of has to hold all the contents in. And so people can get weak, just like everywhere else. So it's important to work with strengthening that and also get assessed to see, is it something that needs surgery? So they would know. You're welcome. You're welcome. Yes?
Do you do post-op therapy for like knee replacements?
A lot. We do that a lot because joint replacements are so common now. And the good thing about joint replacements is that they have good outcomes. Most people who do their joint replacements are pretty happy with it once they go through it. You have to work. It's a little hard work sometimes, especially with the knees, but yeah, we see that a lot. Much more common. I see a lot of that. Yes?
Help me understand under single limb stance test. Just for example, let's say on the very bottom, eyes closed female, and go over to, say 70, 79.
All right, let's see.
Okay,
Eyes closed. Oh, yeah, eyes closed.
2.2, is that 2.2 seconds? What is that?
Yeah, that's under seconds.
That's seconds?
Yes. Well, so what it is for different ages. It tells you what the norm is, and there's a plus or minus. So it's not completely specific because there's a little variation there. So yeah, that would be seconds because that's how we time it. We time it in seconds.
So you stand on one leg for 2.2 seconds, correct?
So let's see. For the eyes open, you can see there's a big difference between eyes open and eyes closed.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
you're talking about eyes open or eyes closed?
It's just because it's easier to read on here because it's, eyes closed is 2.2.
Yeah.
And above it, it would be 11.3.
Yeah.
And you do that on each leg?
Yeah, so when we do it at the clinic, what we do is we have people do it 3 times on each, and we take the average number. Because what we want to do is we want to, when they come in, measure it, do all our work and all our therapy, and then measure it again and see, if there's an improvement. So usually we take the average of 3 on each leg, generally. Yes? No. Well, when you say all, like, what are you looking for? You mean the... Oh, there's not? Oh, I have more if there's not enough. Wow. I'll give you more handouts. I have more. So if anybody wants a handout, you want me to give you one now? All right.
Okay.
Yeah, no. No, on our website, the hospital website, they might have information, but I don't think they really have. They don't have a lot.
Health prevention, they really don't want health prevention. They want you to come with a problem.
Yeah.
Oh, we're so vicious there, too.
That's true.
And your therapists are great, by the way.
All right, let me ask her about
We got Jennifer to
silver
go yet.
sneakers.
We're on reading today.
We don't have a real brochure about it. But, if you have questions, you can
Yeah, I don't think I can ask her my question. Forget it. I'm not going to ask her about silver sneakers. I don't want to get involved. Let's get Jennifer in. Ah,
That's right. I don't have that loud of a voice. Any other questions? We're good? All right.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes. And
When-
then I'll get to yours. Yeah.
When do you feel, what are the signs that tell you you might need to walk with a cane?
Well, that's a good question. I'll say to people, are you using anything? No, I walk without anything. And then you watch them walk, and they're walking like this.
God, yeah.
So they're holding the walls and the furniture.
trail
That's
was
a
sick.
sign that they're definitely not steady, because again, it's that one leg, got to stand on it. So that's a sign if you notice that you're holding things. Obviously, if you feel like, oh my God, I almost fell, I lost my balance. There's a lot of things that can indicate that your balance is less. And usually you start to notice that, you have difficulty or going downstairs or doing these. This isn't so easy.
No,
It's
no,
like
I
doing
know.
the curb. So,
I wouldn't be able to come up there without it, because I use a cane. I would not be able to come up there unless I had the railing.
yeah, and it's
Even if I just touch something, you know what I'm saying? But I would not be able to come up those stairs unless
well,
I
that was one of the first things I noticed.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's not good.
That's one of the, and not,
But the one thing is that sometimes, and I think there's a lot of curb cutouts, but if you go to a curb, and I practice this with people, they're like, "Oh yeah, well in my house I have a railing, but on the curb there's nothing."
right.
So again, what do? You try and work on all those things I said. You work on trying to practice the one leg. You work on your strength because you need strength to get up, and you practice these things in a safe way. If you can't, you can't practice everything without help because you need somebody guarding you. So.
Okay.
And you had a question as well?
Yeah, I think I might have answered, but I'll ask you anyway.
Sure.
Like if you need a bar, right, to hold yourself up so you don't fall in the shower.
Yes.
Like, what places would you go to get something like that? I mean, now what places would have
Plumber.
No, well, that's a good question.
Go
I
to
mean,
Home
nowadays,
Go to Home Depot. They all Home Depot.
Yeah.
Or Lowe's, they all have it.
well, the thing is that also you want to have some guidance on where to put it and what's the most optimal spot. I mean,
someone to put it on for you? Because I just
Well, we'll install it for you.
yeah, well, that's a good question. I mean, there's a lot of contractors. I mean, my dad is 94, so he needs some bars. So we had the contractor put it in, so a handyman can do it. You want somebody to do it because they do make for the showers the suction cup ones. I wouldn't really
No,
trust
they're not.
those.
They're not safe. They're not safe.
Habitat
Yeah.
for Humanity Aging in Place they have a program. You have to apply for it, but they do, and there's a waiting list, but they do things for seniors in your home, like shower bars and stuff like that. It's Westchester County Office of Senior Services. Jennifer probably knows about it as well.
Habitat for Humanity.
Right. And it's called Aging in Place. And but you can find it under Westchester County Office of the Aging because it's administered by Habitat for Humanity, but the program's from Westchester County.
Good.
But there is an application process, and it takes time, and there is a waiting list.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's good to know.
Sure. It's where you look for it. I mean, I can look for it, but it'll take me time. It's Westchester County Office of the Aging or Westchester County Senior Services. And on their website, you'll see it'll be called Aging in Place, Habitat for Humanity, Aging in Place kind of thing.
Our next speaker.
I can the next meeting bring information about that. There are some income guidelines. There's different things, but it's worth looking into.
Yeah, please, I like to
And our next speaker, Jennifer Schwartz Crawford, is from the Office of Senior Services of Westchester.
Oh.
So, but
Yeah. No, that's good. I mean, definitely look into all those resources, especially if they'll pay. That would be great. But if you had to do it quick and they say it's going to be 6 months, you don't want to be falling in 6 months. So, so you definitely can get a contractor, yeah. And online, there's a lot of information, like stopthefall.org. I mean, that's one of the things that is in your packet in terms of bar placement, because that makes a difference where you put the bars to make it most efficient.
Or it's in the bathroom.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
thank you.
All right.
Thank
Want
you
me to
very
do the
much.
exercise, or am I done? Yeah? You want me to demonstrate, or no? You're good? Okay. All right. That sounds good. Well, you have these in here. Just be safe.
Yes.
Thank you. We
Thank
really
you.
appreciate you coming.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tim.
You're welcome.
Can you go down those steps?
Now you
without
can
any
say
help?
our next speaker. Yes. Rosemary, but I have to go to the, yeah, you can
Next speaker.
go ahead and invite her up. Okay, Jennifer Schwartz Crawford, Westchester County Office of Senior Services. Thank you. Thank you for your patience. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I promise I'll be brief. hello, and thank you to the committee again for having me back. I'm Jennifer Schwartz Crawford. I'm a program administrator and a social worker at the Westchester County Department of Senior Programs and Services. As always, I bring greetings from our Commissioner, May Carpenter, and from Colette Phipps, Director of Program Development. Today, I'm going to talk about the final survey report from our Live Well and Age Well, the Planning Ambassadors for Aging program. This was a project that we worked with researchers from the Fordham University Graduate School of Social Service, Henry C. Ravizan Center on Aging and International Studies, and our department, Senior Programs and Services, collaborated with them along with our Westchester Public-Private Partnership for Aging Services. The full report is in the back there, but I want to briefly share just a few key findings. The survey found that over 3% of respondents rated their health as poor, over 21% considered their health as fair, 56% as good, and over 19% rated their health as excellent. Over half stated that they had a chronic condition, while 41.2% stated that they didn't. And over 10% of respondents stated that they used food pantries. In regards to planning for their own long-term care, only 3% of respondents would consider nursing homes, 18% would consider assisted living, 27% would consider home care, and approximately a third stated that they would move in with family members.
That's a joke. That's
funny?
a joke, yes. That's
20
if they'll have you.
21% have a family member with Alzheimer's disease, and nearly 50% of those are involved in caregiving. Approximately 20% of respondents self-identified as having a disability. 5.6% of respondents are veterans, while 8.5% noted a spouse or partner identified as a veteran, and approximately half have accessed veteran services. 83% of respondents drive their own car, and just over a little 3% are homebound. Nearly 31% of respondents stated that they'd been a victim of fraud. Most respondents feel safe in their homes, and over half have emergency plans in place. 90% of respondents have computers, while 94.6% have Wi-Fi access, and 84% feel comfortable using technology. The report identified priorities for older adults are health, financial stability, and maintaining independence. Full copies of this report are available to everyone. If you'd like a copy, I can send it electronically or by mail. My telephone number is 914-813-6263.
Repeat.
And my email, repeat it?
Yes,
Yeah,
please.
Sure. 914-813-6263. My email is J as in Jennifer, Q as in question, S as in Sam, and U as in universe at westchestercountyny.gov.
Would it be possible for you to send a few copies to our town clerk and
Absolutely.
perhaps,
I gave you some last
Absolutely.
time. I gave them to you.
And I have some here too. I'm happy to, yeah. We also have a, yes. Absolutely. J as in Jennifer, Q as in question, S as in Sam, U as in universe. It's at Westchester County, NY, like New York, .gov, G-O-V. Me, I'm Jennifer. Schwartz Crawford.
It's on the agenda.
WestchesterNY.gov. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's at westchestercountyny.gov. They recently changed it.
Yes.
Sure. 914-813-6263. I want to say also, too, there was a question about home renovation and improvements. You can always call our main telephone number for senior services and speak with somebody at New York Connects. Our main telephone line, 914-813-6300. All right. We also have another publication that we've just launched called the Livable Communities Caregiver Coaching Program L3C Resource Guide. It's a free publication, again, with collaboration from Westchester County's Department of Senior Programs and Services, the Westchester Public-Private Partnership for Aging Services, and Fordham University's Rabinson Center on Aging and Intergenerational Studies. And this book includes important topics on caregiving. So it covers things like what it means to be a caregiver, caregiving facts and statistics, physical challenges, when it's time to see a doctor, how to take better care of ourselves as we get older, and a very comprehensive offering of websites and resources, among others. When we say caregivers, we're talking about family caregivers or informal caregivers.
Is all this information on your website?
No. It's
A
a book.
lot of it is, yes.
You have that book.
But I can send you the book. Again, it's the same telephone number and email. If you send me an email, I can send it to you electronically, or I will mail it hard copy, whatever.
Well, can you mail it hard copy to one of the board members?
Yes.
So they can, whoever.
Absolutely.
And then this way we have something on a copy of it. So if we need information, we'll know exactly where to go. A lot of the seniors do not have emails
Right.
or
Right.
capabilities. So.
Right, and that's why we have that option to always mail it hard copy.
Okay.
The other thing is we might talk to Diana Quast, our town clerk, and we might put a little section up on the board right outside of this room with copies of things.
Well, that would be wonderful, and I can bring a whole
Right.
kind of
So I'll
box of
talk to
things.
her about that
Okay.
and then let you know.
Perfect.
Okay?
Yeah, I'd
Thank
be
you.
happy
What
to.
would the name of the book be if I was going to drop you a note?
Sure. So this is called the Caregiver Coaching Program Resource Guide, and it was very recently updated, and it really does have some excellent information. I think it's over 200 pages.
Okay.
Okay.
Caregiving resource.
No, just repeat it, please, the title.
The title?
Yes.
Caregiver Coaching Resource Guide.
Okay, caregiver
Coaching
coaching.
Resource Guide.
Okay. Thank you.
Guide that will guide a caregiver into getting paid for being a family caregiver?
No. It has kind of more general information, like what it means to be a caregiver, websites, resources. For that kind of thing, I would steer you to our main line, again, 914-813-6300, and speaking with somebody with New York Connects. This is not that.
Yeah, my father has dementia, and my mom helps takes care of my dad, so something like that would
Yes.
be.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
Very briefly, I just want to mention the department and the public-private partnership have some events coming up. So the Westchester County Impact Awards at the Westchester Marriott Hotel in Tarrytown is scheduled for Monday, October 21st from 11:30 to 3. To RSVP, you can send an email to jenniferl@eventsremember.com. We have our annual public hearing coming up on October 29th. That's at the County Center from 9 to 12 in White Plains. And for all of our events at the County Center, parking is free. The Medicare Basics Workshop is continuing on November 19th and December 4th in our office building in Mount Vernon. That's 9 South 1st Avenue in Mount Vernon. And then our Senior Hall of Fame is coming up December 6th, 11:30 to 3 at the Westchester Marriott in Tarrytown. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yes.
As a follow-up, senior citizen programs in New York State. Senior citizen programs in New York State, and the numbers are on there for Westchester County Senior Services, New York Connects. So I'm going to leave these for people to take.
We'll take some.
I've given some, the board should have them already.
Yeah. Okay. I just want to say next month, Ken Jenkins will be our guest speaker. Ken is the deputy county executive. So any questions you have about the county, he'll be here and he can answer them.
I just want to make an announcement. The Yorktown Parks Department offices are now located at the Albert Capolini Cultural Center. currently for maybe for a few months until they have a permanent residence.
I just want to remind everyone here that we still have our box out in the hallway there. It's a box with a slot. If you have any questions, if you have any suggestions for any meetings, if there's anything you'd like to ask us instead of asking on the floor, just please put it in the box and we'll try and answer you and take care of it.
And if you want to make
Thank
it
you.
anonymous, that's fine, too.
And last time someone asked about sharps disposal, and Wendy is out of the office for a short time, but Nuvant's Putnam Hospital, the sharps can be dropped off there from 8 to 3, Monday through Friday, at the front desk in the main lobby. Wow. And just whoever brought up Route 6, I literally had them on the line this week about this center island. They have addressed the getting onto the Taconic. They've trimmed that by that exit. So they did say they are going to now send somebody out for the center. I was explaining about the drainage and stuff. What I will say is when you call either our office or the senator's office, what helps a lot is to be really specific about where the problem is. Because if you call up and say on Route 6, you know, they're just going to get back to me and say, can you be more specific? And I said, well, you know, that's what they told us, or that's what the message was. So if you can be really specific about where that problem is, you know, we will follow up on it, but we also don't know if they've done something because we're not always there. So if it's not done in a week or so or more, because, you know, their schedule is, they've got all the roads to deal with, then you could call us back so that we can then remind them that the problem is still a problem.
Very good. Okay. Once again, we want to thank our lunch sponsor, New York Presbyterian Hudson Valley Hospital. And we look forward to seeing you on November 15th. As I said, Ken Jenkins is scheduled to be here on that day, so you can ask him any questions about the county you want. Thank you. Thank you all for coming. Can I have one of those, please?